everyone, and welcome to this edition of my bicycle blog. Lovely to see you all. This is a blog I do regularly for updating us about our Change Begins with a Bicycle project that we're doing in the Huddersfield circuit with All We Can. You'll notice today that I've got a little friend with me. Here's a little bear. The little bear's got a t-shirt on as well, and it says Real Love. Now, what's it all about, you may be thinking? Well, the Yorkshire West District, up until Pentecost time, has been doing a project spreading the idea of real love and how we can show that in different ways in our communities. And the little bear has been popping up in different places where this has been shown. And we in the Huddersfield circuit thought, well, the way we're showing real love is through our Change Begins with a Bicycle project and all the different activities and events that are going on, because we're showing real love for those people who will be getting these bicycles and the support that they need over in Uganda. So this is our contribution to the district's initiative on real love. And it may be that you've got an event that's coming up and you'd like the little bear to come along and be there. So just get in touch with us through the Huddersfield Methodist website, and we might be arranged for the bear to come along and be photographed at your event. So that would be good, wouldn't it? Now, they say little bear because our bear doesn't have a name, I'm afraid. So there are two things I'd like you to think about. One is, can you think of a name for this bear that we could give it? If you've got any ideas, then do please again get in touch with us, going through the website. But the other challenge I have for you today is to find out what the word in Swahili, which is one of the languages in Uganda, main language in Uganda, is for bear. So what's Swahili for bear? Again, if you want to get in touch through the website, and then that will be great, and we can share that when we find out. So this little bear is joining me just for today, hopefully, and maybe we'll see the bear in other places around our circuit, showing us the types of things we're doing for Change Begins with a Bicycle. One of the exciting things that could be going on is on the bicycle coast to coast that we're doing, and details will be coming up more and more about that, and that's going to happen at the beginning of July. So watch out for that exciting event. Don't think there are too many wild bears in Uganda. I might be wrong, please tell me if I am. But one of the things that I think bears do like, isn't it, is honey. And honey is a product that is made in Uganda. In fact, beekeeping is something that is very widespread in that country, especially in the rural areas. I mean, bees exist everywhere on the African continent, and because the lush vegetation and the temperature is very suited to that. And in Uganda, honey production in fact has an enormous potential. They estimate that 500,000 metric tonnes of honey could be produced a year. Unfortunately, that potential has not yet been fully exploited, and the Ugandan Beekeepers Association estimates that only around 800 to 1,200 metric tonnes of honey is produced per year due to the fact there's a lack of current bee stock. So how are these bees and the honey harvested? How do you think they are, Bear? Well, I'll tell you. Traditional methods are used out in the rural parts of Uganda, and it's a very important seasonal activities in a range of reasons. Because the rural people have a really good knowledge of the bees, of plants and places that the bees would favour, so they can go and set up beehives as well and harvest the honey in that way. Usually the hives are unfortunately destroyed and the colonies sometimes killed in the process of collecting the honey, and but they do know a lot about where the bees will be. Beehives are traditionally constructed from timber, bamboo, boris, palms, or woven from forest climbers, and the honey is usually harvested twice a year between March and June to begin with, and then a second season in August to October. So in order to produce 1 pound of honey, the bees must bring in about 75,000 loads of nectar into the hive. This amount of flying back and forth is equal to roughly 4 to 6 times around the circumference of the Earth. Wow, what a long way to be flying back and forth all that time. And just to think, there's me worried about trying to get to my 200 miles down to the Ugandan High Commission down in London. But that reminds me, don't forget to keep sending in those walking miles so that we can perhaps not get around the world, but certainly around the continent of Africa. So, honey is harvested, and what can it be used for? Well, obviously there is the product itself, honey, the sweet, lovely, sugary, sweet flavoured honey that can be used in all sorts of cooking and used as a sweetener as well. It's very popular in different ways. But it's not just the honey that's useful product from beekeeping. There's the beeswax, and beeswax has over 120 industrial uses. Now, don't ask me to name them all, because I really don't know, but there's lots and lots of uses that can be used for beeswax, and they're used across the world. So there's the honey to eat, there's the beeswax as well, and then there's something called propolis. Propolis. Now, this is a resinous material collected by the bees from leaves and buds of certain trees. It's a sort of greenish black in colour and it's all gummy in consistency. The bees use propolis to fill cracks in their hives, to seal the entrance hole when it's too large, or to make the hive watertight, to glue the top bars onto the hive body, and to strengthen the rim borders of their comb, and as an embalming material to cover any dead hive intruder that they cannot remove from the hive. So it's very useful for the bees. So how is it useful in other ways? Well, it can be used in several pharmacological properties. For instance, it's used in some preparations to treat some skin diseases, and there's more and more research into other uses going forward. So this is a useful and helpful product as well. And then of course there's some pollen that's left over. Now obviously it's used to turn from the bees when they bring in the nectar, and beekeepers can collect some of the pollen from the hives and save it to feed the bees in times when the plants aren't producing pollen in such an abundance, and they can use it to feed the bees directly, and that's something that can be very valuable as well. It's also believed that sometimes it does have some valuable medicinal purposes as well. Then we have world jelly, or bee milk. It's used by the bees to feed the queen bee and young larvae less than 3 days old. So it's full of nutrients, and it's believed to be, or it is, a good source of vitamin B. Lots of other medicinal values, and is used in a whole range of preparations. In China alone, 100 tonnes is consumed annually, and China makes royal jelly, chocolate and candy and wine, as well as lotions and tonics for therapeutic use. And then finally, there's, surprisingly, we might think, the bee venom. Now obviously if you've been stung by a bee, you know that it can be very painful and hurts quite a bit, and also some people can be affected in different ways by bee stings. And the bees of course use it as a defensive weapon to protect themselves and their property, and especially the queen bee. And the African bee, well, that's quite aggressive with its sting and can be very painful, but it can be used for other things as well that are helpful and useful. Two main medicinal uses. It's a desensitizer to those who are allergic to bee stings, helps them with that, but also can be or is used as a treatment for arthritis, being directly applied to the part of the body that needs it. So, just a few details about beekeeping and the fact that honey is produced in Uganda and is a very important source of income for those, especially who live in the countryside. Well, it's time to say cheerio with me and Bear. Again, if you've got an idea of what we could call Bear, do get in touch. And also, if you can find out what Bear is in Swahili, send us an email. Details are on the Methodist, Huddersfield Methodist website page. So, well, until next time, keep cycling, keep walking, keep safe, and God bless. Bye for now.